What's up, people? I am back for another video. Today, I am doing my top. I'm doing my top 11 1997 films. Next week's 1998, and that should be fun. But 1997, I gotta say, was a really good year of film. There was a lot I had to leave out. I mean, Event Horizon, that was gonna be on this list, but then I realized, and you'll notice when I will get to my number 10, I had to leave it out. So Event Horizon, you had fucking um 97, so I had to leave a couple things out, but I managed to whittle it down to 11. But 97 was, we're getting towards the end of the um the 90s, and I would definitely say they definitely started going closer to the millennium. Obviously, the effects you'll notice with my number one, which is Lost World Jurassic Park. Will Smith was a big name at this point. I mean, he had just been, I just did Independence Day, and obviously you'll notice when you'll get to my number two. He's in this movie, Men in Black. Um, Obviously in '97 he also had the genius that was Batman and Robin. But I mean, I had to mention it, even though it's not a good film, but I just had to mention it. Um, this was when horror was somewhat making a resurgence because this was for that post Scream era. It's really started. I Know What You Did Last Summer, Scream 2. I mean, we get an immediate sequel. So, yeah. South Park just came out this year. So, 97 is not a bad year. I mean, Attitude Era in wrestling was basically about to start on the cusp of starting at this point. Like, it was definitely like a transitional period in the 90s towards, the end. So, I thought I put together a fun list here. Tomorrow I'm going to review Talk to Me. That's going to be actually fun to talk about something good, you know. It's actually a really good movie. It one of the better horror movies in a while. The whole premise of it, like you touch this hand and you start seeing demons, and obviously it's kind of a slow burn in the sense of things start out fine, and then just throughout the film it deteriorates, and they start seeing demons in real life, and they have to try to stop it before it makes them do fucked up shit to themselves and or to other people. It's yeah, I'll talk about it more tomorrow, but yeah, that was a good one. So talk about that tomorrow. Wednesday, I'm doing the movie I was gonna do tomorrow, but I figured it'll be make more sense just to swap. So I'll do this one on Wednesday, Casino Royale, which I remember really liking. So that was the only Daniel Craig Bond movie I actually watched. I actually saw that one in the theater. I remember because I was still somewhat into Bond at the time. And I'm gonna be honest, that's why I didn't watch like the other ones. It was just by the time like because Quantum of Solace was like, oh wait, I don't know. I don't know if I was like not necessarily grew, but I wasn't as into Bond by that point. And there was so much in 2008, like Iron Man, Dark Knight, Tropic Thunder. There was just like a million movies that year, and I just even shitty Mummy 3, like there was just a lot, like to where I just didn't end up watching Quantum of Solace like that. So that's why I didn't see it. But it'll be cool to dive into those. Thursday I'm gonna do Meg 1, the first Meg, since we did Meg 2 last week. Kind of makes sense to go back and do the first one, so we'll do the first one. Then Friday, the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man film. Can't wait. I actually can't wait. That's actually probably of all the videos. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like all my videos, but of the videos, I'm actually pretty hyped to do Sam Raimi Spider-Man one. It's been a bit, like maybe 2 years, 3 years, since I've seen those movies. So I can't wait to get back into them. And I don't know if I'm just gonna do mainly the Raimi ones, and then or if I'm gonna maybe just say fuck it and do the the um the Garfield ones, we'll see. I'll kind of see how I'm feeling, but I definitely can't wait to do those. Then either Saturday, maybe Saturday. I still want to really talk about this whole Scream 7 shit, so I might do that one. And then I'm gonna watch Voyage of the Demeter. I don't know when I'm watching it, so it kind of depends on when I watch it. And I'm definitely gonna review it, so I'm probably planning on reviewing it. I do want to give my updated Angel thoughts too, so I might, if I can, I might just say fucking do 2 videos Saturday. Maybe like I'll do one of them like in the early afternoon or some shit, and then the other one at night. Because I do want to talk about that Scream 7 shit, just because it's like Wes Craven never envisioned this franchise to go to 7 fucking movies. I know, like, if 4 was gonna be successful at the time, if it did a shitload of money, they wanted to do 4 through 6. I think he would have ended it there. I don't think he was ever gonna do like a 7. That just sounds like one of the things Scream made fun of was kind of the amount of sequels there were, especially like in 4. They kind of hampered, like they kind of made fun of like the Stab franchise, the amount of movies there were. So it's like Scream kind of made fun of that, and besides just the reboot stuff. So it's like weird to me. They're doing 7 now. Like now we're on to 7, and they're probably doing 8, and it's just like holy shit, man. Like it needs to end. So I'll talk about that tomorrow. Not tomorrow, on Saturday. But let's get to my 97 list. Holy shit. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Just move the camera this way. Anyway, my number 11, Anaconda. Anaconda, this was one. I remember watching this as a kid. I was really into whole like killer animal movies, and this was just giant snake movie with Ice Cube, Jennifer Lopez, Owen Wilson. Ooh, I think I had saw him in Shanghai, the Shanghai Noon and Night movies. So, because I had saw him in that before I saw this movie. Because I think I watched this one when it was like on the Sci-Fi Channel. And it was a dumb, fun movie. It's not objectively great. I actually think, though, John Voight as Cerrone was a great villain. Like, he starts off this mild-mannered guy, but then you get the reveal he's actually he ends up taking over because Terry Flores just wants to go find this lost tribe. But he actually wants to find this giant anaconda. I mean, the anaconda effects, I watched this one, I reviewed it a couple years ago, and then I think I watched it one other time after that. It was like last year, I think. It's either 2021 or 2020. No, I think it was last year I reviewed it. I watched it again. And yeah, the effects do not hold up, but it's a fucking great one. I have fun with the cast. I think even Eric Stoltz is in it. I thought he was fun in it for the little bit. You get some cool kills. Cerrone's death's pretty brutal. It's 90s as fuck. And that's what it just needed to be. It's a killer snake movie. And that's what it was. We got a killer giant anaconda. Even the scene where it kills the panther was kind of funny. Even though it does not look great. It's still a great scene. Like, it really... There's even scenes, though, even though the effects do not look great, you get that sense of scale. And I think that's the one thing I like when creature films try to get you, especially when it's a giant creature, is scale. If you can make this thing look massive compared to everything else and it's believable, that's all you need. And I think this one does that in spades. So yeah, for sure. Anaconda's had to be on my list. So that's my number 11. My number 10 is Austin Powers. I mean, Austin Powers, International Man of Mystery. This was, to me, the way this movie managed to not just spoof like spy movies, but it really did spoof Bond. But I think they did a good job. But one of Mike Myers' best fucking roles. Even though I do watch the second one more, I do love that first one. I love the whole premise of it. It starts off in the 60s. You even get like the trope of confronting Dr. Evil, the villain, the bald villain who looks like Blofeld basically with the cat. petting the cat, even in that typical villain way, even though it's Mike Myers himself, it's so iconic. That scene is so fucking great. Yeah, one of Mike Myers' best roles and just performances. Vanessa Hurley as Elizabeth Hurley as Vanessa. That's the character. Thought she was great, and the way Austin Powers basically gets a fucking here's a quick little education on the '90s. It was so well done because he starts off in the '60s, but then he gets frozen, and then they bring him back in his years '97. Yeah, it's a fucking great movie, and he has to adjust to the times. It's a great out of time film too, and yeah, I do prefer the second one, and I tend to watch that one more. But the first Austin Powers is a classic. Mike Myers, it was the first of its kind at the time too. Yeah, I definitely understand. Um, I watch this one all the time. I love that first Austin Powers. It's just such a classic. And even fucking Seth Green is Scotty, and he's such a disappointment as a villain. Yeah, yeah, everything. I mean, the whole the villains are great. It's just a simple movie, and I think that's what makes it work. So that's my number 10. My number 9. I Know What You Did Last Summer. Yeah, I've talked about this. The movie, I probably should switch the order, but fuck it. It I have my problems with this. The story itself does not really make any sense if you fucking think about it. But of it is one of the better Scream movies of that post Scream era movies. And I mean, '90s Sarah, Jennifer Love Hewitt. You have Sarah Michelle Gellar in it. Ryan Philippe. Yeah, Freddie Bitch Jr. is in it. But it's a fun '90s slasher. Actually got some decent kills, even though some of the kills are a bit out there. Even though because this guy's supposed to just be a regular dude, but I do like the premise. These kids fuck up and end up killing a man. And they end up burying it and hiding it for a year. And then the next summer, the killer comes back to get them and leaves them little messages. I know what you did last summer. Like, there is some genuine terror. So that's why I do like it in that scene where the killer is chasing Sarah Michelle Gellar in that big chase scene is pretty well done. So I do think there's some good. I think I have some negatives, but it is a fun '90s movie. It doesn't feel like a rip-off Scream. Yeah, they do have a red herring, like they make you think it's Ray for a second because he is a fisherman. Um, they also make you think it's this other guy, but we get the reveal that it's Ben Willis, and then I actually do think that scene where you actually get the reveal when Julie goes on his ship, and that guy is actually Ben Willis was well done. So it still holds up as a movie. I watched it at least the last month, so it's still overall a decent movie. Has a little bit of problems, like some of the story does not really make any fucking sense, but I Know What You Did Last Summer. my number um my number 8, Starship Troopers. This is one of those movies, I said this in my review. It's not just a movie, like you feel like you're part of it with those messages from the Federation that you should join. Like, it's more than, it doesn't just feel like you're just sitting down and watching a movie. Like, it feels like they're actually talking to you about joining the Federation. The team of Dizzy, Rico, Ace, Jenkins, Neil Patrick Harris. Sorry guys, I was looking for some. Um, like, and actually the bugs look relatively well. It's unfortunate that the sequels suck fucking shit. Because this is one of those they could have easily made a franchise off of, and It sucks that they dropped the ball. I don't know if maybe they just at the time didn't take it seriously and they just, oh, this is just some dumb bug movie. Because you had actually some well done characters, and Dizzy's death was pretty fucking sad. And when you actually see the leader bug, like I really thought they put the work into the different designs of the bugs and the different types. That's why I love it, because it doesn't just feel like you're watching a bug movie, just some bug movie about killing bugs. They actually, you feel like you're part of it with the, not just with the ads, but like and oh, I gotta talk about fucking Clarence Brown as fucking Charles, Sergeant Charles. He's fucking great. And his death was pretty sad too. And one of probably my favorite Clarence Brown's like live action roles for me overall is him as Lex Luthor, but I do love him in this movie. So overall, I fucking love Starship Troopers, and it's sad because it could have been like a Tremors, like Tremors at least up until at least four decent movies. I would say two is probably the only one that's like close to the first one, but I think the other up to four they're still decent. So you could have at least did that with Starship Troopers, but no, this is the only good one. You pretty much only watch the first one. Do not watch the other two. Even three, which I was gonna review, isn't even that great. Like you see Rico, but that's it. He doesn't really even have chemistry with the people he's supposed to work with in this one. That's what makes it kind of shit. So just watch the first one. So that's my number 8. My number 7, Con Air. Fucking one of Nick Cage's just best roles. And it's unfortunate because his case is because a guy tried to like attack his wife basically, and he defended her honor, and he ends up killing her. And because of that, he had to go to jail. And a year later, they're being transported. But while this happens, Cyrus, played by John Malkovich, basically starts a prison takeover of a plane, and fucking Cage has to stop it. I fucking love it. John Cusack's in the movie. It's a well done, like, even though it's just an action movie, Cyrus is actually a really well done villain, and Vin Rames, the scene and the way it starts is kind of slow, and then obviously when the takeover happens, and then they have to try to stop it, and slowly Cage is taking some of them out, acting like he's working with them, but then there's like that big chase in the end where they when they're off the plane. I fucking love it, man. He just wants to get back to his wife. That's all it is. Because he was wrongfully put in prison because he defended her honor. And yeah, the guy ended up dying. It's such bullshit. So that's what made the movie so good. And yeah, it's one of Cage's best, in my opinion. And it's great because Cage is going to also be in another movie coming up here pretty soon. So yeah, I definitely recommend this one. Even just the scene when he's just standing there in the sun, his fucking hair is waving. I mean, it's just like, that shot is so iconic. Fucking love Con Air. So that's my number 7. Number 6, Jackie Brown. Jackie Brown, to me, this is Tarantino's most underrated movie. I remember watching this one, and I'll admit at the time, I didn't like appreciate it as much just because I had watched like Kill Bill, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, like all his great ones. But when I watched it years later, it's so good. It's done in the style of like old 70s. Even though I've saw Brothers, I don't really like the name blaxploitation, but whatever. It's done in that style. Pam Grier as Jackie Brown is great. Ordell, one of Samuel Jackson's probably more underrated roles. That he plays him like, because he starts off so likable when he's just in that scene talking with Robert De Niro in the beginning. He seems so likable. But then that scene when he just casually fucking kills Chris Tucker it's so casual, like how he does it. He tells him to fucking get in the trunk, but it like acts like it's this big promise, and then he just opens the trunk and then bam, just pops him and then drives off. It's just so, and even the scene later on when he has to kill De Niro is just so, Ordell is a great antagonist. And Jackie is basically she just wants her money from. She basically forces Ordell to help give her a cut of his money. Fun cast. The scene where Robert De Niro ends up killing um Ordell's girlfriend by accident is even like, oh, fucking Robert Forster as Max Cherry's great. It's just a fun cast and good dialogue. I like Tiny Lister's little cameo in the end as Max Cherry's like kind of like guard. It's a great film. And then the end of the film where Ordell gets killed, and yeah, the soundtrack's awesome. It's one of Tarantino's best. I think, unfortunately, and I hate to say it, it's understandable because of just what he did before, even obviously up until this point. Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, and then pretty much the next movie after this is the Kill Bill movies, in terms of the ones that he directed. And yeah, even necessarily the one I consider this a Tarantino film, From Dusk Till Dawn, was the year before. But yeah, like Kill Bill, Django, Inglorious Bastards. Like, there's just some of the later movies he did. I kind of get why this one unfortunately gets overshadowed, but it is a good one that I at least feel like it deserves to at least get acknowledged, you know? So, definitely Jackie Brown I had to put on the list for my number 6 for my 97 list. My number 5, Fifth Element, and it actually kind of makes sense. I actually didn't even do that on purpose, but it makes sense. Fifth Element, Corbin Dallas, one of Bruce Willis's best roles. I love the world building. Yeah, it's not necessarily the greatest plot in the world, and you can argue maybe they could have did a bit more work into getting to the whole understanding the elements, because the elements are kind of a backstory. It's more about the world around it, which I'm actually fine. For me, that works. Because that's actually why I watched this movie. It's the world building. Tiny Lister as the fucking president is fucking great. Ruby Rod, one of Chris Tucker's best roles in kind of like a serious movie, even though up until this point he's been. And it's crazy because basically he was playing like one of his almost like comedy characters, but in like a somewhat serious movie. You know, and the counter with the countering Bruce Willis's more serious character. It was great. Lilu, one of Mila Jovovich's great. Um, Multipass. I love that shit. It's so fucking iconic. Yeah. It. I love like the effects still hold up. That singing, even the opera scene, I actually really like too. They really did a good job of they did the detail in the world building. To me, that is why I like it. Luc Besson, who directed it, I think really did a good job with the world building. Everything around it. Yeah, the story may not be like the greatest thing in the world, but he really did a good job with just the world. Even I love the way it ends with fucking Lilu and Corbin sex. That's basically how the movie ends. So, but yeah, I watched this one all the time. I watched this one as a kid. I was pretty young, just because it was like, because at the time it was like I was into Star Wars, so I was like, oh, it's like Star Wars, you know. But yeah, I fucking love Fifth Element. I had to put this one on my list. Sorry, Steve. I love this movie. But anyway. My number 4, Face Off. This is actually my favorite Nicolas Cage movie. The whole concept of basically, even though the technology, if you could probably break it down, doesn't really make any fucking sense. It's not like we're in some futuristic world. It's relatively supposed to be modern for the time. So it's like, how the fuck do they have this technology? You don't question it. They just have it. But Nicolas Cage is just Castor Troy. Even in just the beginning scene, is fucking great. And Sean Archer, which is John Travolta's character, he is a loving father. Obviously, this was the 90s, so he's gonna have like an angsty kind of daughter who was fine, but yeah. So and so Castor Troy, well, Sean Archer decides he has to go into this program, and this is where they do the face off, and he has to pose as Castor Troy to get information. Um, and while this happens, Castor gets his face as Sean Archer, and actually I think that's the one reason I like this movie. It's the acting. Basically, you have to portray the character that the other guy is playing, and he does it perfectly. That scene where they confront each other, the way it looks good. Like I watched it a year ago. It looks good. Yeah, like I said, it doesn't really the tech doesn't make any sense, but what the fuck ever. It makes for a great scene. The scenes together, fucking that scene where as Archer he beats the shit out of her boyfriend. He tries to because there is a scene he tries to basically kind of he goes a bit far and basically attempts to rape his daughter, and he like beats the shit out of him pretty brutally. Even like Archer has to try to get out because Troy's basically ruining his image, and then he has to pose as Troy when he gets out. Like it's fucking awesome. It's one of Nick Cage's best roles in my opinion. It's so bad shit. It's so 90s. I fucking love it. So yeah, fit the Face Off. I fucking love it. My number 3, Men in Black. This to me. I remember watching this as a kid, man, and one of Will Smith's best fucking roles, and Tommy Lee Jones's too. Their chemistry, it's like Lethal Weapon with me. They had instant chemistry. It was like the moment they got a scene together, they just had instant chemistry. I love the world building of it, like that slow realization, yeah, aliens exist. And they even explain that, like, in a kind of simple way that basically humans, yeah, a person can be smart, but people are stupid. If the world found out that aliens would exist, it's understandable why they have to kind of keep it a secret. Everything would fall apart. That basically everything they know, everyone that is potentially are pretty much undercover aliens. I really love that, and they even kind of go into the behind that. The Men in Black handle that, and even just the tech of the Men in Black has always been one of the things I love about the movie. Like, it's a comedy, but they do a good job of that. And Vincent D'Onofrio as the cockroach is one of the grossest villains. Ugh, when he takes the dude's body and ugh, man, it's just like holy shit. Then you have Linda Florentino's character, which she ends up becoming an agent, which unfortunately there seems to be a pattern because she apparently Kevin Smith didn't like. Well, granted, fuck Kevin Smith, whatever. But for Dogma, apparently he didn't like working with her either. But she was supposed to be because the end of the film she becomes an agent. The show, the Men in Black cartoon, apparently acknowledged it, and she becomes an agent in that. But they probably planned on her being in Men in Black too, but apparently Will Smith did not like working with her. So that's why they never. So it sucks with that, but she's alright for me. Everything I've seen her in, she's been decent in. Even if, obviously, I don't know, I've not seen her backstage. I was like 1 when this came out, so. But Men in Black I watch all the time. That scene where he becomes a giant cockroach is fucking gross, but some of Will Smith's best work, yeah, it's fucking great. I watch this one all the time. Even in the sequels aren't bad. Men in Black 2 isn't the best, but Men in Black 3 I love because it really the way it ties everything back together. And I'll probably be in a list because that came out in 2012, and that's gonna be a while. But so yeah, that's my number 3. My number 2, Scream 2. I mean, Scream 2 is to me one of the best horror sequels. It does a good job of like how the first one establishes the rules of horror movies. I think this one does a good job of establishing the rules of sequels. I have one criticism, and that's how they kill Randy. Not necessarily them killing Randy. not them killing Randy I have a problem with. It's more how they did it. Like him just getting yanked into the van in the middle of the film, I've always had a problem with. Okay, so let's see if it's recording still. But I always had a problem with that, how he just gets yanked into the van. That was kind of lame to me. If he was gonna die, he should have died like closer towards the final act of the film. But besides that, I love the opening, obviously because I don't like Jada Pinkett Smith, so that does help. But I think it is a good opening because with the chaoticness of the Stab 1 opening with everyone in costumes, you have Ghostface killing her in a costume. It really was a good opening. Even the cameo from Sarah Michelle Gellar as Cece was great. I thought her kill scene was great. I thought it was a good way to continue the story in a college because it was a good idea to do it in a different setting and not just do it in Woodsboro again. And I like the call scenes. I thought Mickey was a decent killer. I love how batshit he was. Um, um, Mrs. Loomis is the other killer. I've talked about this. I don't really like. It's not that I don't like her. I think there could have been a bit more development. Obviously, they wanted to have that reveal, so it's fine. But my issue is they wanted to do like a Mrs. Voorhees kind of thing, but the problem was Mrs. Voorhees did not run on her kid. She did. I understand you can argue, well, she's a mom, and then I get it, but it's a little criticism, but it doesn't ruin the movie. I like that Cotton was part of the story, even though he was a clear red herring, but yeah, I love Scream 2. I thought it was a good sequel, a good follow-up. Sydney's story grows. I have one gripe, and I have a couple gripes, but that one scene where Derek sings, that doesn't need to be in the film. I almost wish that they cut that out. It does feel like a different film. When that scene, every time I watch it now, and this is more of a recent criticism I've had, but the more I was like watching, I'm like, this feels so out of place. I feel like I'm watching some like 90s like rom-com set in a college with Nev Campbell and Derek and Jerry O'Connell. Like I felt like that they didn't need to put that in the movie. I think they could have cut that out. I get they wanted to show like Derek that he loved her, but could have did it differently. Maybe he just does a little song and it doesn't. Not this whole public thing in the fucking cafeteria. It was a little cheesy. If you wanted to do cheesy, they could have did it a different way. Because I felt like when I watched that scene, it's just I feel like I'm watching a different fucking movie. Every time. But aside from that, I love Scream 2. I watch it all the fucking time. Especially when I watch Scream 1, I tend to put Scream 2 on right after. I think it's a decent follow-up for a movie that, like, because there are times when you try to rush a sequel and it's bad. I think it's the case. I don't know if you could argue they kind of rushed it because it was within a year, but it still worked, So I love Scream 2. So that's my number 2. My number 1, y'all know, Lost World. I don't want to spend too much time as I did a video defending Lost World, and I've also reviewed it. But Lost World to me that is the perfect way to do a Jurassic sequel. Go a darker tone. I love the darker atmosphere of Lost World. It goes, I'm not going to defend the little girl, Ian's daughter. That it doesn't really make any sense. They don't even explain that she's like adopted or anything. No, Ian just has a black daughter and you just kind of have to live with it. And the gymnastics scene's kind of cringy. But I just tend to just kind of skip over that because I love everything else. I love the start of it with the compies, the different dinosaurs, the way they do peril. Like if they do make you feel like you're in peril every fucking scene. Like when a trailer gets turned over, then fucking Eddie has to try to save him, and then obviously the scene, and I'm going to talk about it by itself here in a second. The scene where Eddie gets killed, or later on, Obviously, there are dumb decisions like Sarah leaving on the jacket. Like, there's some decisions in the film that I'll even like. I have to acknowledge that are dumb, but I think they really do a good job with fucking terror in this. That's why even like the compy scene when they kill Dieter Stark is fucking great. I love the San Diego sequence. I don't fucking care. It makes for good horror. T Rex in the city, and the concept art there was going to be two. I'm happy they didn't go with that. I think that would have been overkill. But I like this scene. I don't fucking care. It makes for a good sequence. It makes sense too thematically because now the world knows what InGen's up to. Because up until that point, only certain people knew what fucking happened at Nublar. Now the fucking world knows. That's why I like that scene. And even just as a kid, it had that kid in me aspect. That scene where the Rex is at that kid's window. It's like you can imagine yourself in that scene. You wake up one night in the middle of the night and then you got a fucking T-Rex fucking looking at you. Like it's fucking great. So anyway, I don't Eddie Carr's death is one of the most tragic deaths, and it obviously just on the visual, you got T-Rexes splitting a dude in half. That is a crazy visual. But even just the sacrifice, he was trying to save his friends, and just it's one of those scenes you knew he was fucked because both sides you got a T-Rex looking at you. It's like where you fucking go? Yeah, that's why I love it. It's like that sense of terror is really there. That's why I watch this one all the fucking time. I tend to, like I said, if I watch Jurassic Park 1, I watch Lost World right after. So yeah, anyway, I've done multiple videos on it. I don't want to spend too long, but yeah, 1997 was a fun year, so I had to, there was a couple, it was so many, like, that's why I had to do this one. I can't wait till 98, because Blade's my number one that year, but there's American History X, you have fucking, I'm gonna throw Godzilla 98 in there. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna straight up admit it. That's gonna be more nostalgia wise, but yeah, there'll be Faculty was 98, so that's gonna probably be on my list. Fucking um Small Soldiers 98. Fucking uh I don't think I'm not gonna have H2O. I know that came out that year, but even I'm gonna throw the X Files movie that came out in 90, and I like that movie, so I might throw that in there. So 98 is gonna be a fun one too. I think 99 is gonna be a fun one. Like 98, 99. I think these 97, 98, 99. There was a lot those years, so that's gonna be fun. So can't wait to do those years. I know I say this a lot in this, but it's been fun doing this series. I like talking about shit I like. I know people like to think I just hate everything, but no. It's just Hollywood lately. It's just what have you done for me lately? There's been granted, I'm gonna be talking about what they've done for me. I reviewed The Meg yesterday and I enjoyed that. Tomorrow I'm reviewing Talk to Me and I really enjoyed that. So there is good stuff. It's just Hollywood, even though that one's Talk to Me's technically that's Australian movie though. So, but there is good stuff. It's just you gotta really search for it. But I like talking about shit I like, so that's why I've been wanting to do this series for a while. Like this idea of let's do a list of a bunch of movies that came out in specific years, and this can go on for a while. Now we're in 1997. I'm like 2 more years, and we're into the 2000s. So anyway, I'm gonna cheers tomorrow. Talk to Me review. Yeah. All right, y'all. As usual. Talk to y'all later.